Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio by Ray Ora.
Hello.
Jonathan Voico's here.
Hello, everybody.
It's Friday, so Chris Carr is here.
Hey, y'all.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making this little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a bunch of predetermined topics that you see listed down in the description. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to get to the most important stuff, which is taking your live comments and questions. And how do you get a comment or question on the show? It's easy. Use our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. You can also find a link for it down in the description below. And the nice thing is, not only can you send in questions live right now if you want to, but if you're one of the 90% of the people who don't watch the John Campea Show live because you're at work or school or whatever, you can use this tip link anytime, 24 hours a day. If a thought crosses your mind at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can fire it in then, and we'll address it as long as it's appropriate to be addressed on our show on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, let's jump into things, shall we? We're going to start off with this. The Acolyte, of course, is now out and on Disney Plus and is the newest in the long tradition of divisive Star Wars material. There are a number of people, a lot of you guys have been writing and saying they've been loving the first couple of episodes. Some people really been disliking the first couple of episodes. People like me who are kind of in the middle, like, I see the promise and potential in the first couple episodes, but I also see some of the weaknesses that have been a part of some of the other disappointing Star Wars shows. So who knows? But the one thing that we know for sure, according to Variety, is that a pretty decent launch. Because according to Variety, The Acolyte had 4.8, nearly 5 million views in its first 24 hours, which makes it, the biggest launch they've had in the year so far, and we're almost halfway through the year. Although that's not saying a lot. Because the only other really premium thing Disney Plus has put out this year so far is not Ahsoka, Echo. Is Echo. So it beat out Echo, but it did also beat out the last Star Wars series, Ahsoka, for its opening day stuff. Now the problem is this, and this is where the big question comes. Ahsoka launched pretty big. Acolyte launched even a little bit bigger. The problem is, as Ahsoka progressed on, viewership declined.
As did the show.
As did the show.
In my opinion.
General. Yeah, I didn't like Ahsoka, unfortunately. Had its moments, though.
Sure.
Absolutely
there were some
had
great
its moments.
things in there.
Had a couple of really good episodes, too. The question will be, is that going to be the fate, I should say, of The Acolyte? Is it going to be, okay, pretty decent, strong start, but are people going to want to tune back in? Now, as for me, if you guys saw me talking about the show, you know, I thought it shows potential. Like, there's enough strong elements there that I think it could get better, maybe. But there's enough there that at the end of each of the 2 episodes, I went, okay, I want to see the next one. Let's see where it goes. Will it go up like Andor did? Or will it go down like almost everything else they've done has? Actually, Book of Boba Fett didn't go down because it started in a hole. Like, Book of Boba Fett started terrible, and it just went flatline from there. But what will happen with Ahsoka? Anyway, Chris, you see these numbers. It tells me, despite what some narrative some people try to spin, there is still an audience for Star Wars. There's still a hunger for Star Wars. They came out to watch the debut.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, what are those viewership numbers going to do moving forward? What do you think about the numbers, and where do you see it going?
The numbers for me prove that, one, the materials were, for the most part, the promotional materials, received very well by the public audience. I know that was
which is
something
weird
that
because
we
I
talked
didn't
about.
like the trailers, but they were obviously pretty effective.
I enjoyed them, but then once that one fight scene was shown, I was like, oh, let's go.
Yeah, that was good.
There we are. Because this show thrives. We were just talking about this. This show thrives when it's John Woo meets Star Wars. It's so good. Like, the choreography here is amazing. But the other thing we have is that Disney's plan is potentially working. Focusing on the content and the quality, not the quantity of everything. So doing less could be more for them. Obviously, the proof is in the pudding here if people are going to stick around, and that's going to have to do with if this show continues to be quality. I'm kind of your mindset where I know, Jonathan, you were given this like C minus for those episodes. I think there's a lot of potential here. I love Amandla. I think that character and that dynamic is really interesting that she's working with. I just think that the first 2 episodes were so exposition heavy that I haven't gotten to enjoy a lot of things.
Yeah, I think you didn't love the first 2
exactly.
episodes.
I liked them, but I wasn't in love. And I like a lot of these actors. So I'm interested to see what else happens. But so far, it looks like the less is more option is working out pretty well for them.
Yeah, Lee Jung-jae is still the MVP of this for me.
He's so good.
I gotta be honest with you. Because this is his first English speaking role, and knowing that, and I loved him in Squid Game, but knowing that this was his first English speaking role, and then not really loving what I saw in the trailers, other than that fight scene clip that they put out, which was fantastic, but the trailers to me were weak, so I didn't know what to expect from him once the show itself actually started. But I gotta say, for me, he is the MVP of the series so far. Amandla has done great so far. Again, I love the concept of a murder mystery set in a Star Wars universe. With all of my gripes and all the complaints I had, there are still a couple of very solid pillar things that I think were strong and that they can build on moving forward. They've got to move up though. Like, this series has got to get better as it goes, I think, for it to maintain its viewership. Otherwise, it's going to go down. Whatever you guys think, let me know your thoughts. Jump down into the comments section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? So last night, got home, was running some errands, got home. Anne is out of town for a couple of days, at least once a semester. My wife Anne she's going for her doctorate right now. And every semester she has to do this, I don't know what they call it, where her class gets together, because mostly she does it through USC. So they got to do this once a semester, so she's off doing that. So I ran some errands last night, came home, thought, you know what, not quite ready for bed yet. Got the munchies, gonna have some snacks. I'm gonna pop on, see what's out there. And there was this movie called Under Paris that I heard had just dropped, and a couple of people speak nicely about it. It's a French film, comes out of Paris. So I decided to pop it on. And I saw some people like comparing it and likening this movie unto Jaws. There have been some pretty decent shark movies post Jaws. There was that Blake Lively one that I thought was really quite good.
Yeah, where she's like on the buoy.
Yeah, I like that one. Then there was that one.
The Shallows.
The Shallows.
Yeah. Yep. I thought that was a really nice little one.
Yeah.
Then there was that one with the couple who get abandoned in the middle of the ocean.
Based on a true story.
Yeah, based on a horrifying true story. Open Water.
Yeah.
Was the name of that?
Then the Mandy Moore one. 40
I didn't
meters.
love that one, to be honest. It wasn't bad. Didn't love it. Then, of course, there was the Chef LL Cool J one. Was that Deep Blue Sea?
Yeah.
Which
That jump scare is awesome.
it's one of the top 3 best jump scares in the history of Hollywood. And that with Samuel Jackson,
Yeah.
one of the 3 best jumps. I'm not saying the movie is one of the top 3 best, but that jump
I think
scare,
about that moment all the time.
It's just like,
so good. I love that. I know it's coming, and I still love seeing it.
You never
right?
are ready for it.
Oh, it's so good. So there have been some good ones, right? Some bad ones, some good ones. I will say it. This is the best shark movie since Jaws. I think this is maybe. Let me rephrase. Maybe the best shark movie since Jaws 2.
okay, that's all I was going to say.
Okay, I'll say best shark movie since Jaws 2. Which is, I think it beats all the other Jaws movies, but that's not too terribly hard.
Right.
And this was a really good movie. The whole idea, it starts with this woman and her team that are kind of studying this junk. I don't know what you call it, but in the middle of the ocean, there's this place where like all this junk kind of
floating junk islands.
just kind of comes together because of the tides. It's like it's like twice the size of France or something like that.
They're real too.
Yeah. So they're out there studying the effects on sharks with this
Sadly.
type of pollution, and they've been tracking the shark. And all of a sudden, they found that this shark that they've been tracking, that just a few months ago was only 2.5 meters long, was now over 7 meters long. I don't know what that is in feet. Someone will have to do the translation
That's
for
like
me.
3 times that, so 21 feet. It's
So
massive.
became a real big shark in just a few months. They said, that's impossible. That can't happen. But the tag is on it. That's the same shark. And then the shark wipes out her whole team, takes them all out, and then it jumps ahead 3 years later. And the basic premise of the movie is, what's the name of the little rivers that run through France?
The
Seine?
The Seine? Is that how you pronounce
Yeah.
it? You'd think taking 7 years of French, I would know how to say it,
I just
say,
always
I'm-
known it as a Seine.
but I don't. The Seine. These rivers that run through Paris, suddenly that shark is back and it's swimming in the channels of Paris and under Paris. Hence the name Under Paris.
Yeah. Some dirty water, but all right.
This shark movie is fantastic. It's tense. You know, I always say that one of the best things about horror, when a horror filmmaker really has their finger on the pulse is when they understand that what you don't see is often more terrifying than what you do. And they leverage that. Although when we do see the sharks, it is like crazy great. The ending of the film, I'll say this, gets a little sci-fi. I'll say it gets a little bit sci-fi, but honestly, great characters for a shark movie. It's not Jaws or Jaws 2, but it's the best shark movie I've seen since Jaws 2. The way they build tension, the way they use the environment, all this stuff, the scares and the kills are shocking, and I just really like this film. Now, is this going to be a top 10 film of the year for me? No. But, I don't go into a shark movie often with very high hopes, and this one really, really nailed it. Ray, you actually, just before the show started, you watched the trailer.
Yeah.
What did you think about the trailer? But I was in French. Ray is not impressed.
I mean, the shark looked really small. I bet so.
Oh, no, it didn't.
So does this?
I don't think you saw the right shark.
No, well, I guess they didn't reveal like the big shark, but so is this like film like filled with like jump scares? Is that what's good about? Is it?
No. I mean, it has a couple of jump
It's
scares.
the tension,
building.
right? It's the tension and like
It's tension and atmosphere and like oh shit kind of like it's.
is there gore like when the shark does attack? Do you see? Like I gotta see this myself.
I think you should see it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I did something. I was telling the guys I did this last night. I normally 9 times out of 10 I will watch a foreign film with subtitles. But it was late. I was a little bit tired, and I thought, I'm just going to watch the dub version. So I don't know how that affected my viewing of it. But
I'm gonna have to watch the dub version.
it was a very good dub version.
because it's gonna be a lot of reading for me.
Yeah, it'll probably be a lot of reading. But
So you think people should watch this?
I would recommend, because here's the thing. Out of the 20 to 50, and this is true, 20 to 50 movies per month that Netflix will put out, many times, every single one of them is garbage. Every once in a while, you get lucky and you'll get one out of the 20 or 30 of them that are good. And this month, we might even get 2, because you saw another one.
Mm-hmm.
I can say this is one of those rare times that a Netflix movie has come out that I enthusiastically recommend.
Yeah, because I've never
I
heard of this.
enthusiastically recommend this. Yeah, check it out. Now, just as a side note, maybe we'll talk. I'm going to watch it later today sometime because it didn't drop until midnight, I think.
Yeah.
But you saw
I watched Hitman.
the new Glenn Powell one.
Yeah.
Just
with
quickly,
Glenn
what did
Powell.
you think about it?
So overall, I like it. We are a household divided, though, because I do not like the landing, and Logan feels like they stuck it. And I'm interested to talk to him about it because we watched it at different times. Because I'm not watching it when it drops at midnight. I watched it when I
Yeah.
woke up at 4 a.m. like a psychopath. But for the most part, it's a really fun movie. It's Richard Linklater. He and Glenn
Yes.
Powell wrote it together.
So what a strange pairing.
I
You don't think of
know.
like Hitman movies and Richard Linklater.
Right? But then it makes sense when you think about the kind of Texas background they both have
Yeah.
and the work they want to do. I will say, too, the promos, I know people were talking about how, like, Glenn Powell looked like he was in Party City costumes and everything. They look much better in the film. And the big takeaway from it, for me at least, is that this just solidifies that Glenn Powell is a movie star.
Yeah.
He's great. He's a chameleon. I saw one review that likened him to the modern day Cary Grant because he can do action and great physical comedy and things like
well,
that.
we'll find out because
So-
I was sitting in a movie theater yesterday watching Bad Boys,
Oh,
right? Okay.
okay.
And they played the trailer for Twister. Sometimes sitting beside Ray Ora in a movie can be a very entertaining experience. Sometimes a little bit of shrinking in your seats, like, oh God, because it's a quiet theater. It's a quiet theater. The Twister trailer is playing. And I know Ray's looking forward to Twister.
Yeah.
And then the trailer ends and the whole theater's just quiet waiting for the next trailer. And all you hear, single voice, yeah! One
Because
guy.
you know what?
And it was-
Out of all the times I watched that trailer, I never noticed that there was that fire twist.
Fire tornado, yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, they did a fire twister. And then I was like, yeah, let's go. Glenn Powell, he's like one of the up and coming actors that I really like everything I've seen him in. But yeah.
Did
I
you
guess
guys-
we're going off track right here.
Yeah,
you
we're going
guys
off track,
see-
but I just had to share that. So, like, seriously, imagine a pretty full theater, dead quiet, and one voice. Yeah! Yeah!
You know what? They played some decent trailers yesterday. Even that Channing Tatum movie, the Blink Twice.
Yep.
I've never heard of it. I'm interested.
I don't know what
Yeah,
that is at all.
both Channing Tatum movies look really good. The one about on the island, which is I think Blink Twice, and the one he's got coming out with Scarlett Johansson.
Into the
Oh,
moon.
that looks great.
Yeah, that
I
looks
figured
really
you'd
good,
love
too.
that.
Did you guys?
but-
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting way off topic here. Under Paris, great shark movie. If you got a chance, sit down and check it out on Netflix. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, there have been in a year so far that has been crippled by the strikes and the fact that no production and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it's still in the midst of that. There have been a couple of pretty big films. And one of those ones is Godzilla X Kong, which has made well over $500 million. And it's just a fun, stupid movie. It's a stupid movie, but it's pretty damn fun to watch. Well, we already knew that the director of the last two Godzilla Kong movies is now moving on to do another film for A24, and Legendary wants to get moving on a new Godzilla Kong movie fairly quickly, so they now have a brand new director attached. Legendary's Godzilla and Kong. This is in the Hollywood Reporter. Follow-up finds new director in Grant Sputtor.
Yeah, Spator.
Sounds like a He-Man villain. But Grant Sputtor, Legendary's MonsterVerse has found a new master of disaster. The studio has tapped Grant Sputmore to direct the next theatrical outing in the franchise following March's Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Sputmore came up from the world of commercials and, as a feature director, helmed the sci-fi movie I Am Mother, which I did not mind, starring Hilary Swank. The film bowed at Sundance before hitting Netflix in 2019. All right. So they didn't let this question linger for long. Like, I remember when they said that Adam Wingard was going to be moving on because he's going to be directing that movie Onslaught.
Right.
Not to be confused with the Marvel supervillain who is the meshing of Charles Xavier and Magneto into Onslaught. Not that Onslaught. Totally different Onslaught. So he's moved on to do that. And he wanted to do the next Godzilla X Kong movie, but Legendary is just like, and I get it, they're like, we don't want to wait. We want to get moving on the next one. And I think that's probably wise on their part. But I didn't think they'd move and find a new director this quickly, but I suppose it makes sense that they do. Here's the question, though. I think right now, Grant has too small of a filmography for us to have a real handle about how good or how bad of a choice this is. So let me move the question on to this. Do people want more Godzilla X Kong? And I mean, that's not a rhetorical question because, you know, we had the outlandishness of Godzilla versus Kong. Then they stepped up the outlandishness in Godzilla X Kong to like some like really eye-rollingly dumb stuff. I mean, kaiju doing a straight up suplex?
Dumb or awesome?
But I do not deny I cheered in the audience when that suplex ripped out.
I haven't. It's the one I haven't seen yet. When Ray was showing me clips, I'm like, come on.
I'm like, did he just suplex him? Yes, he did.
The Kong orthodontist
The Kong.
was great.
Kaiju
dental work.
orthodontics, just like that. That's how easy you can do a crown. But listen, they're fun. The thing made over $500 million, did really well. So changing directors, bit of a roll of the dice, but let's not pretend that either of these things are Seven, that either of these movies are Oppenheimer. So I don't know. Chris, first of all, thoughts on Grant taking over as the director, and do you think there is still a future for these Godzilla and Kong movies?
I have to be completely honest that I'm not familiar with Grant's work.
Okay.
So-
I don't think many people are.
I'm not sure what to expect. I'll have to check out the sci-fi film though. Like Hilary Swank, I like sci-fi. I don't know how I missed that one. I do know how I missed it. Netflix doesn't really promote stuff. That's how I missed it. But I think it's great that, you know, the previous director is moving on. He's going to be doing Onslaught with A24, this action movie. I think it's good for him to kind of spread his wings and do something else, especially after
I
the
agree.
two Kong films. As long as, look, these for me, we can have both Godzillas, right? We can have the -1 thoughtful, really interesting story that's humanistic and everything. And then we can have our kaiju just wreck and shop.
Yeah.
And sure, there can be a happy medium between them. Someone can make that for me. That'd be delightful. But I don't mind that these are two different schools of thought when it comes to these movies.
My issue is it just starts to feel a little Transformer-y.
That's fair.
It starts because
Yeah,
this is not
that's
the
a good comparison.
This is not the Godzilla of like the first Godzilla or Monarch, which I loved.
Loved Monarch
Or
too.
even King of Monsters, it still was like it felt like it followed in those footsteps.
Sure.
Even though the movie wasn't that great, but it was still like that kind of Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
And Kong Skull Island was still within that route. But as soon as they did Kong versus Godzilla or Godzilla versus Kong, it started getting they're making a turn here. And then when it got to Kong or Godzilla X Kong, I'm like, why is he like running and jumping and doing somersaults and
Because it looks
this doesn't
cool.
it looks to me
'Cause
silly and it loses all of its like weight. And I'm watching Monarch and I'm like, I like this.
Monarch, I think, is probably more of the standard.
Yeah.
It hits both of those things, right?
I'm
Where you
just
have
saying
human stories,
I'm just
but then you have this.
saying fine they did this, but let's kind of like reel it back a little bit here.
But
You need to see this one though,
but
too,
here's
because
the
the
thing,
suplex
though.
I think is delightful.
I saw the suplex.
the
love it.
suplex is, I pretty much jumped out of my chair. I did. But reel it back. Legendary is going to hear one message, and that message is Godzilla King of the Monsters. Ray, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it got out of the 300 millions
Oh, let me actually.
at the box office. I just remember it didn't do great. Meanwhile, Godzilla versus Kong, which kind of is their big step into the ridiculous, that movie being like the first big movie to come out in the pandemic era and being day and date release on HBO Max, made $470 million at the box office.
Which one are you looking for? Godzilla
King of the
X?
Monsters.
Oh, King of
The
the
third
Monsters.
one.
Sorry.
Yeah, the third one. So meanwhile, Godzilla versus Kong, in the midst of all those circumstances, still
387.
387 was
Second
King of the
one.
Monsters. So Godzilla versus Kong comes in, pandemic, day and date release on HBO Max. People could stay to watch at home. Still managed to make way more money than that one did. And then they come out with an even more ridiculous Godzilla X Kong, and that thing makes 500, somewhere in the $550 million range.
I'm wondering if it's Kong.
So it's absolutely Kong.
No, but because like Kong Skull Island did great for what
Kong
it
Skull
was,
Island, I
and-
think, is the highest grossing of the MonsterVerse. So what you have is you have Legendary sitting there saying, okay, we saw what the first Godzilla was and what Godzilla King of the Monsters did. Hell, we even saw what Godzilla -1 did. Godzilla -1 won an Academy Award. People who saw it loved it. Made about $100 million. But we keep leaning into this Godzilla Kong suplexing, riding a mighty steed across the plane eternal, and it's crossing $500 million. That's what Legendary is seeing. So I can pretty much guarantee you, because you may be right, Jonathan. I don't disagree that you may be right, but I can guarantee you Legendary is going to lean more into that
Yeah.
as they go, because
Well-
that's what's making them. That's what people are going out to see.
Transformers made a lot of money too. I'm not saying it's
Until
not
they
a-
didn't.
Right. So
Right? Transformers made a lot of money until they didn't.
Yeah.
So maybe that cliff is coming for Godzilla and Kong. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? They're moving forward with the next Godzilla and Kong film. They got themselves a new director. Do you think the train can keep on going? Or is it time, like the Transformers franchise, that at some point they just don't anymore? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about Bad Boys, Ride or Die. We went to go see it yesterday. Also, the first reviews and reactions for House of the Dragon Season 2 are out, and they're pretty damn good. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Miracle Made and The Perfect Gene. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Miracle Made. Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so that you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. When they arrived at our house, my wife Ann loved the feel of them so much, she couldn't even wait for me to get home to put them on our bed. Miracle Made has self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevents up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. Miracle Sheets also have incredible comfort and quality. Miracle Sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. So go to TryMiracle, that's TryMiracle.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40% 20%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you will get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Perfect Jean. Guys, are you tired of the rough and rigid jeans crushing your boys? Well, today's sponsor, The Perfect Jean, finally solved all of your denim difficulties. They make great looking, perfect fitting jeans that are as comfortable as sweatpants. The secret? A special denim fabric that is super soft and has the perfect amount of stretch so you can squat, do yoga, or just sit around all day without ever having to take them off. I'm going to admit I was a little bit skeptical because to me, jeans have always been jeans. They're practical, but not always the most comfortable. But I'm telling you guys, it's not an exaggeration. Once I put on these jeans, the Perfect Jean redefined what jeans can be to me. They're the perfect fit, they stretch, they breathe, and again, they're just insanely comfortable. So guys, it's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc/Campea15. Our listeners get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns and free exchanges when you use code Campea15 at checkout. Again, that's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc/Campea15 and use the code Campea15. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the John Campea Show and tell them we sent you. And thank you to our friends at Miracle Made and The Perfect Jean for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's go into this, shall we? Bad Boys, Bad Boys. Went to go see the new Bad Boys Ride or Die. They really did blow it. They called the last one Bad Boys 4 Life. That totally should have been the name of this one, being the fourth film. They blew it, but whatever. I am not, I've said this before to give you a little bit of context. I'm not the world's biggest Bad Boys fan. Like, I like the first two Bad Boys, like everybody, but I don't find them to be like all-time classics the way a lot of my friends do. But I enjoy them. Then the last one, Bad Boys for Life, actually ended up being my favorite. I had such a good time with that movie. I thought it was really good. So I've been very excited to go and see Bad Boys Ride or Die. And I'll let you know one of the things I said in my open spoiler review, or not my open spoiler review, but my out of the theater reaction last night was this. The first act, I thought, oh no, this movie sucks.
Oh.
It was like just way overly silly, and the jokes didn't land, and they get a bit into supernatural, and it just felt forced. And I don't know what it was, but the first act of the film wasn't working for me. And I'm sitting there in the theater, and I remember about like 20 minutes in, I'm like, oh man, this sucks that I don't like this one because I loved the last one. That's too bad. Oh well, it's only going to be about another hour and 15 minutes. I'll just hang in there and wait for this piece of garbage to finish. But then John Sally shows up. And it's not because of John Sally, don't get me wrong. But there's the scene that John Sally comes in, and I only mention him because it's not him that does it, but it marks a moment in the film that everything changed. Like they just changed gears. They flipped a switch at this one moment in the film for me. Because at that moment of the film, near the end of the first act, the film starts getting better and better and better. The jokes start landing. The action feels more intense. The editing definitely gets better because the editing in the first act, something very choppy about it, did not feel smooth. The editing started getting better. The story started flowing much better. I started getting much more invested into what was going on. And it just got better and better and better and better that by the time this movie ended, it crescendoed. And I was like, yes. I still think that the last one, Bad Boys for Life, is still a little bit of a better film. But by the end of this movie, I'd come out with a big smile on my face. I had a great time with it. The action was top notch. The jokes got really good. There definitely was. Everybody said there was going to be, and there was. There's a Will Smith slap thing in it that worked in the context of the movie. I don't think it worked as a meta commentary at all. But as a joke in the movie, it worked. And listen, I thought Will Smith was great in it. Lawrence was great in it. The supporting cast is really good in it. I think one of the villains is Mr. Fantastic. From the previous Fantastic Four movies.
Oh, dang.
What
Okay.
I've never Eon.
E-
Yeah,
he has like such a hard.
Grutherfield.
Names,
I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Ioniama.
it's Welsh, so it's all consonants.
Whatever. I like him though.
Yeah.
I like him. Grufford. Yeah. Anyway, but I do like him. I think he's good. And yeah, it was exciting and fun, and a little bit of an eye roll from me at the very ending. It's like, would they actually do that? But whatever. I put that aside. There's a great moment. If you guys remember from the last movie, you know that Lawrence's character now has a son-in-law. Oh, he might steal the movie.
Really? Because in the trailers, they don't play it like that.
Nope. No,
Wow.
they do not. And it's like, yeah, so what started off as a pretty missed opportunity to me, and I thought, well, they went a little bit one too far with the bad boys, turned in the second and third act and became a really fun, enjoyable film. So I had a great time with it. Ray, you were there with me. You slept through the first 15, 20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
That's
actually had to nudge him
shocking.
because
It was because
his snoring started to get
it was
loud.
because I was a little lost. I
You
mean,
were also bored.
well, yeah, it like the first part was just like they're doing like we've seen this before, like a lot of stuff. I mean, I love when Will Smith and Martin Lawrence do work together.
Yeah.
They always they have good chemistry. Martin Lawrence, let's say 85% of the time, I laughed, but then that 15% was I was like, it's a little too much now. It's a little too much,
Yeah, like,
and it
in
happened.
the first act. It was just
Yeah,
too
I was
over the
like,
top. Yeah.
Man, like it's too much Martin Lawrence. But overall, I laughed more at his stuff than not laughed. Anyways, but the back end of this film, it actually was I was up off my seat. I thought the action was so good. It's I thought it was over this franchise. I had Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2. I didn't watch the last one because I was like, oh, this is not my thing anymore. I don't want to watch anymore because the first two were really good to me. But now, after seeing this one, I actually want to go back and watch the last one because there's so many things that I was asking about after the film. Like, oh
yeah, there's so much you would have had no clue about. 'Cause you
yeah,
didn't see the
I
last
didn't know
film.
Will Smith had a son.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start making a rule for you that when we have a sequel coming out, you
But-
have to go back
but-
and watch the first one.
Aha,
But the
new
thing
rule.
is, usually the
Yeah.
case is usually like I don't feel like watching something, but when I know I like something, like what I actually do feel like going back and watching the previous. So this film did it for me. That's how much I liked it. I actually feel like going back and watching the last one. So I give it a thumbs up.
By the way, the guy from Vikings, the show Vikings, the guy who plays Bjorn Ironside, he's great in this movie.
Yeah, he's great.
Him and the
Vanessa-
Filipino girl, Vanessa Hudgens.
Vanessa
I didn't even
Yeah.
know that was her.
They're great in it as well. Again, I had a really fun time. So if you do go to see it and you're in the first 20, 30 minutes and you're going, what's Campea talking about? This isn't that good. Trust me, hang in there. Because when John Sally shows up, things start happening and it just, everything about the movie just gets tighter and better. A couple cool cameos too.
Yeah.
Couple of cool little surprise cameos, which is all right. Anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on Bad Boys for Life. If you get a chance, or I should say Bad Boys Ride or Die, should have been called For Life. Did you have a chance to see it? If you did, what did you think about it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this. Up there with Last of Us and Shogun, one of the best shows out on television right now is indisputably House of the Dragon. It is so good. It is just clicks on all the levels. It's just a wonderful, brilliant follow-up to Game of Thrones. It just did such a great job. We've been waiting patiently and for years for season 2 to come along, and now it's here. And the first reviews from people who've seen the first 4 episodes are now coming out, and a lot of them are saying this is better than season 1. We'll go over to Rotten Tomatoes, whose headline of it is House of the Dragon Season 2 First Reviews, gorgeous and expertly crafted with epic dragon fights. All right, so let's get into it here. The Rap writes, House of the Dragon soars even higher this time. It is utterly compelling and expertly crafted television. Not only has House of the Dragon surpassed its freshman season, but based on the first 4 episodes provided for review, it has the potential to overshadow even the more popular flagship series. It's a confident and elegant, well, this comes from Empire Magazine. It's a confident and elegant improvement upon the first season. From Slant, at the table setting, all the table setting and time jumping that dominated the better part of the first season have, perhaps inevitably, set the stage for a much stronger second season for House of the Dragon. Mashable writes, if House of the Dragon Season 1 was the slow burn of the fuse leading up to the Dance of the Dragons, then Season 2 is the powder keg finally going off. Paste Magazine writes, through the first 4 episodes of its second season, House of the Dragon mostly feels in line with what came before. And the last one from Screen Rant, for the most part, I think anyone who liked House of the Dragon Season 1 should be very much on board with Season 2. But there are some, let's say, interesting narrative and character choices, which book readers in particular may not agree with.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, they might deviate from the source material?
That's what you get for reading.
All I'll say is that Last of Us deviated from the source material and made it a better show.
This is true.
So I love hearing this. I love hearing this. There's other stuff that they go on to write. Let's just check out some of these other comments as well. It's like, in Season 2, House of the Dragon does a much better job of establishing both Rhaenyra and Alicent's children. The quieter, slower, but just as bloody season allows the show's characters to develop so that their inevitable deaths carry more weight. Intimate moments of hesitation makes House of the Dragon Season 2 such a brutal, affecting watch. And also, like the commentary goes on to say that more brutality. And for those of you who love the filthy, they say an extremely explicit X-rated orgy scene is coming. You're welcome. Which has turned this and now into must-watch television. But they say that the deaths are more brutal. It's got all the things that you expect from a Game of Thrones season of television with better character development and all this kind of stuff. One of the criticisms that I read, though, and Ray, this is going to make you sad. They say Damon, who definitely has a prominent role in the season, but they say he gets a little more sidelined in this season than he did in the last one. Because I think they focused a little bit more on Aegon.
Yeah, they got to build him up a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
they focused a little bit more on that and stuff like that. But everything we're hearing is absolutely wonderful. It's everything I wanted to hear. So with that coming and The Boys also coming this month. So I love hearing. Chris, where's your anticipation level been like for House of the Dragon Season 2? And what do you think about the comments we've been hearing so far?
I've been cautiously optimistic because so many shows suffer from the sophomore slump.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, though, these folks saying that this is even better gives me a lot of hope, because I think critics love to really enjoy a show. It's so nice when something comes across your table and you go, oh, wow, this is really great stuff. This is a really great show. But I think even more, some people love seeing something so successful fall and writing about how terrible it's become.
Right.
And so it does give me hope that, hey, if these folks are liking it, this could be very, very promising. I am sad about the idea of Damon being sidelined, though, because Matt Smith is so wonderful in this. But in interviews, he has talked about how he does get some really fun, meaty stuff to do still, which is great because I think this is one of the best roles of his career. Yep. He is so fabulous in this role. I'm interested in seeing more. The increased violence. Gosh, you guys already hit me with eye violence. What else? What else are you going to do? I'm nervous about that.
I want to know, how much foot stuff are we going to get this season?
I feel like the orgy is just foot stuff.
It's just all foot.
It's all foot.
Lots of foot. So Quentin Tarantino's going to be tuning in. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be must-watch television. I love what I'm hearing come out of this. Very, very excited. Anyway, question is for you guys. What do you think about the comments we're hearing coming out about House of the Dragon Season 2? Did you even like Season 1? Are you excited for Season 2? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take another quick moment to thank another sponsor of today's episode, my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, Mint Mobile. We want to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. My favorite spring cleaning takeaway is the post-clean clarity you get. Wow, how have I been living like this? It's kind of like when you find out that you've been paying a fortune for wireless when Mint Mobile has phone plans for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. My last mobile service provider was quite good, but ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've enjoyed even better coverage, better phone clarity, and I'm paying less than a third of what I paid to my old provider. Say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bills to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions may apply. See Mint Mobile for details. And thank you to Mint Mobile for being my mobile service provider and sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to the important stuff. Your guys' comments and questions. Jonathan, what we got up first?
Tomato Soup says, another Hunger Games book and movie are coming. Sunrise on the Reaping will follow Haymitch Games, Woody Harrelson's character. Book comes March 2025, and the movie Lionsgate is aiming for November 2026. Francis Lawrence is set to return to direct. I'm hooked.
Ooh,
Not interested.
I actually am.
I wish listen, I enjoyed the one we just had. What was it called again?
Snakes on a
Songbirds and
Plane?
Shoots and Ladders? Yes.
Yeah.
Song of Snakes and whatever.
Snakes and Songbirds?
Yeah.
Songbirds and Snakes? Whatever it was called. I liked it. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. When I first saw the headline that what's her name? Suzanne, the one who
the
writes
writer?
the books.
Oh, I have no
Yeah,
idea.
forget that. Anyway, when I first saw the headline that she was writing a new book, I thought, ooh, that piqued my interest. And then I saw it was another prequel. Now, look, again, just like Songbirds and Snakes, I will go and check it out and give it a shot, and hopefully I'll like it like I did Songbirds and Snakes. But, okay, you lose me once you go, it's yet another prequel. A sequel to the prequel. I would much rather see what happens in that world when... I forget the name of the main characters. Jennifer Lawrence's character.
Katniss.
Yeah.
Katniss.
I want to see what happens once Katniss changed the world. I would like to see what happens after that. But, you know, it's still a very popular series. So, but you are more intrigued by this than I am.
I am, but it also depends on how if they're going to sanitize all of this. Because so my friends are really into the books, and I got kind of a play-by-play of why should I care about this Snow movie? Because that was the one of like, don't make me feel bad for the president of Hunger Games world. Like, no. And apparently in the books, Snow does a lot more despicable stuff with the winners. Like Fennec in particular gets passed around as like a sexual concubine to the many people of the Capitol who can afford to be with him. Also, Snow apparently is like just very deviant and awful. And Woody Harrelson's character, obviously Hamish, has this drinking issue. He is pretty cavalier about stuff. And I'd like to see kind of his journey into becoming Woody Harrelson. I think that could be interesting. But again, it depends on how they're going to approach it. If it is just another like, well, one day I was doing okay and then I went and killed some kids and now I have to deal with the repercussions. Like, I know that movie. I want to get a really cool character study.
All right, what's next?
Butters took a real dark turn there. John M. with a 3-parter says, hey, John, I missed the 20 to 24 episode seasons of TV. Short movie quality seasons are great for some shows like Succession, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things. But some shows thrive in that longer season that allows you to get to know the character and doesn't focus solely on just trying to rush through the story. I think a lot of hate towards some shows, especially on Disney Plus, could be alleviated by longer seasons, even if it means shorter episodes that leave more room for character development and for the audience to grow attached. Of course, there's other factors, but I think it would help, at least in some cases.
Yeah, look, I have come to peace. A couple of years ago, I just came to peace with the fact that this is the new reality. We are going to get 8 and 10 episode seasons. That's what the norm is going to be. And I agree with you. Like I do, those used to be called miniseries. That's what those used to be called. Like when you had just a small amount of episodes, that used to be called a miniseries. Now like 8 episodes, 7 episodes, 6 episodes. That's the norm. When we used to have like a number of the greatest television shows of all time were like 20 plus episodes a season, and they did them great. And was there an odd filler episode? Sure. But we're still getting some filler episodes in 8 episode seasons. So it is what it is. But I mean, it is the new normal, right? It's the new way they do things. See, one of the other advantages that the cable model used to have was that today's streamers, they gauge whether they're going to give a second season to something based on the number of new subscriptions it generates. And that's why so many great shows get canceled after 1, 2, or sometimes at most, if you're lucky, you get 3 seasons and they get canceled on streamers. And what that means is one of the reasons we only get like a new season every 2, sometimes 3 years is the fact that these streamers do not commit to multiple seasons. So they'll do 1 season, and meanwhile, everybody involved with that season is booking their next gigs and all that kind of stuff. And then after the season, then a streamer decides if they're going to do another season. And well, okay, that's great. But Main Star 2 is not going to be available until March. And Main Star 1 isn't going to be available till June. And they got to reorganize everything and remount up for that. The advantage that the network series used to have is, hey, they sign everybody to like they commit to 2, 3, 4 seasons, whatever, and away they go. But yes, I do miss it too. But there are some shows that are very well suited to the shorter format as well. You brought up Succession as a great example of that. But anyway, there's a whole discussion we could get into. All right, what's next?
All right. Anonymous says, the first post-Guardians project I remember Chris Pratt signing on for was Cowboy Ninja Viking. Last update was that it was still in active development with Pratt on board, but that was in 2018. It's been 10 years since he signed on. This thing is dead, right?
I have not heard anybody say it's dead, but I've also seen no signs of life. So my thought is, my guess, because I haven't looked into it, but at this point, yeah, I'm guessing it's probably nipples up at this point. I don't think it's happening. All right, what's next?
Amar says, hi, John. Loving the shows as always.
Thank you, Amar.
Saw Bad Boys 4 yesterday and loved it. We'll be going back again. Had so much fun. Inside Out 2 next week.
Yeah, we're in a nice little stretch right here as far as, well, with television, yeah, but also with the movies. We had Bad Boys. Next week, we got Inside Out. What's the week after that? We're just a couple of weeks after that, we got Despicable Me 4.
I think we're getting Twisters.
Quiet Place. Like, we got a number. I mean, this is the best stretch we've had this year so far in 2024. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope Inside Out 2 is as good all the way through as its first 30 minutes are, and we don't get another Lightyear situation. All right, what's next?
Julia Goodwin says, one thing I wish I got to see when going to see Dune 3 times is to see it in a combined IMAX Dolby theater. If such exists, it doesn't where I live, and I wish I got to see it in that way. It doesn't. The Dolby doesn't project in IMAX.
No, and there are advantages. I mean, there are a couple of really good technical videos put up that showed like in IMAX, you got to see this extra stuff, but in like Dolby, you got to see a wider extra stuff. And
Better
like
contrast too.
Yeah, they had better contrast. They both have their positives and their negatives, right? They both have their advantages and disadvantages. What I always told people when they say, should I see it in a Dolby theater or in an IMAX? I'd say, well, either one you win.
Yeah.
You're going to get a great presentation,
Yep.
either one. So each will have its advantages, but I think they're both fantastic. All right, what's next?
Brandon Salad says, hey, crew, you guys should do a Who Can Play Damian Wayne segment someday for Brave and the Bold. Very curious to see your picks.
I'll tell you why we won't. Because not enough of the general public even know who Damian Wayne is or cares. And I don't mean that as a knock. I like the Damian Wayne character. I do. But the reality is, I think most people will acknowledge that the vast majority of the average moviegoer has never heard the name Damian Wayne and therefore won't care. It's also, I'm going to be interested, Chris, to see how they approach Damian Wayne. Like, are they going to approach Damian Wayne like Hit Girl age? Are they going to approach a 15-year-old Damian Wayne? Like, I'm going to be really curious because that, like, everything about who they cast. Plus, here's the reality. Since it's going to be a younger kid, I don't think anybody thinks we're going to get an 18-year-old Damian Wayne, right? I think we all agree much younger than that. So what's there to do a casting of? It's mostly kid actors at that point. But how do you see James Gunn approaching the Damian? Do you think we'll get like the 10-year-old Damian Wayne, a 14-year-old? Like, where do you think they're going to
I
do?
feel like that's where James Gunn would want to go, is what's the most messed up version of Damian Wayne? What is the most uncomfortable? Audiences are going to go, oh no, a child cannot be doing those things. You can't be killing people. You can't be doing this, that, or the other. You can't talk to your dad like that. You can't do that to all of his previous bat children, right? Because he has some messed up stuff that he does. He's a tiny baby assassin. And I think that is the approach. The kind of Grant Morrison, the first kind of ideas we have of Damian is, I think, the way to go. You obviously can cast an actor who is 14, 15, 16 to play younger. But I think the look and aesthetic and the age we're going to be perceiving him as is going to be around that like 10 to 12 age.
By the way, Variety has just dropped Paul Walter Hauser playing Damian Wayne. It's now official. Paul Walter Hauser.
Honestly,
Damian.
he's got the range. He could do it.
He could
I'd
do it
believe
all.
it. I'd
Sorry,
believe
Chris
every
Pratt.
minute.
You were close. You were a
Chris
close
Pratt was
second.
close.
That would be if it was only a voiceover. Then
All
he would
right.
have gotten it.
What's next?
Okay. Anonymous says, also, is Venom 3 really going to be the last one? I mean, he's the one real moneymaker Sony has in the non-Spider-Man library. They can't just end it while it's still going strong. It's not like we're getting Madam Web or Morbius sequels.
Let's put it this way. I think the plan is to end it. The reality, even though I like the second one, quality-wise, even as somebody who liked the film, I thought it was a step down from the first one, and its box office definitely declined. Like, how much did Venom: There Will Be Carnage? I think it was like 500 and something million.
Let me check that.
It was. I mean, still, it made a lot of money, but like the first one made 800 plus million, and then the second one made like 500 plus. I think it was like 500, wasn't it? Do we
I
got
got
an
it.
answer there?
It's 506.
Okay, so it made over $500 million, but it's declining, right? Now, so that being said, if under some twist of fate, Venom 3, The Last Dance, makes $800 million again, they'll revisit doing another Venom film. I think even Tom Hardy will go, oh yeah, we got to make another one. I don't expect Venom 3 to make $800 million, but if by some stretch of the imagination it makes $800-900 million, I think they'll go back and revisit it.
Yeah. Well, and you also can stop this version of Venom so easily. Venom historically has had 20 or so various hosts. So you can have other people get connected to that symbiote should a Tom Hardy want to walk away.
But would the audience come back? Like if the audience
Potentially.
likes Tom Hardy's, it's almost like an entirely new franchise if you take the main star out and switch it out with somebody else.
Potentially. But if it is that same kind of chocolate craving, all id kind of Venom.
Who's
and we
also
still
voiced
get
by
that-
Tom Hardy.
Yeah. Which, I mean, also for Tom Hardy, and I'm not saying this to disparage my own profession, that could be an easier paycheck for him. If he
very
wants
well-
to
yes, it
just
could.
do
Yep,
just do the
100%, yep.
voiceover and then have somebody else in there. Because you could have, like, when he gets connected to Angela, he even got, like, Venom is on Carol Danvers at one point, on Normie Osborn, all kinds of people.
Oh yeah, he's been everywhere.
Yeah.
He gets around.
Yeah.
That Venom gets
Bit of a
around.
slut, that
Man.
symbiote.
All right, what's next?
Mike Thompson says, with people being so divided these days, with Trump this or woke that, or is the MCU still any good? One question I have that I think can unite everyone is, what happened to your kick-ass intro theme? Ask YouTube.
Okay, I'll just give a quick thing. Some of you who watch the show regularly might have noticed that we don't use the intro music anymore. Long and the short of it is this. I bought a license to that music years ago. And that license gives us the right to use the music as often and however and wherever we want. But for some reason, we started to get a copyright notice
Yep.
a couple weeks ago, maybe about a month ago. We started getting a copyright notice. Your videos have been demonetized, like every day when we'd put up a new show. And then I would have to file a counterclaim and put in my license information. I'd just have to say, I have a license for this music. Here's the license information. Here's the order number. Here's the date, blah, blah, blah. And then I would get a message back from YouTube. Good news. The copyright claim has been released. Great. And then we do the next day's show, and I'd get the same demonetization copyright claim. So I would submit a counter with all the information, and an hour later, good news, the copyright claim has been released. And that happened 4 days in a row. And I try to reach out to the company that was filing the claim to say, guys, you've claimed and then released the claim on me like 4 days in a row. Can you just whitelist me? Like, I've got the thing. I don't want to have to go through this every single day. Plus, there's going to be a couple of hours that our videos aren't being monetized. And they just never got back to me. And so I made the decision that, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. So I just decided to just do the show without opening music. Now, I might get more opening. I might compose and make my own opening music at some point and just put it in there. But until then, yeah, no music to open the show. All right, what's next?
All right. Christopher Rosato says, watch The Nice Guys today. Really good movie. Ryan Gosling's best role.
Oh, for a second there, I thought The Other Guys. Nice Guys is great. One of Shane Black's best. Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe together, fantastic. It is the movie that is the poster child for shut up when you say Hollywood doesn't make original movies anymore. Yes, they do. And then y'all just don't go see them. It's like the poster child movie for that. All right, what's next?
Mike Thompson says, I also wrote the Venom question, but forgot to put my name. Well, there you go. It was Mike Thompson. Anyway, enjoy the extra $5. P.S. While I generally agree with you about prequels, one thing I can say is that they can serve as a good jumping on point for new fans of a franchise. I guess if you didn't think of them as a prequel, they'd be like, everything else is a sequel, but...
Yeah.
Oh, but listen, it's the same thing for me. Like, I don't like time travel in movies because I think that's the laziest device any writer can do is time travel. But that doesn't mean there aren't time travel movies that I really do like. Obviously, Back to the Future, Star Trek 4. There are some I really do. I don't like the concept of prequels. I think it's a bad direction to go. But that doesn't mean there aren't some prequel movies that I really enjoy. Absolutely, it can work. So there's no 100% thing for me. It's just what mostly works or mostly doesn't work for me. All right, what's next?
Itsy Bitsy Spider says when Batman gets away using his smoke pellets, he gets away from cops and thugs who aren't trained to sense people's presence using the Force. So yes, I have a problem with May getting away from two Jedi who are far more in tune with the Force than her.
And Batman and the cops don't have to deal with somebody who is trained in shadowing themselves from the Force. It's just a bad argument. Like, so I get it. Listen, you guys saw my open spoiler discussion on The Acolyte. I have a number of complaints about the episodes, but the complaint about how did she get away from that is not a valid complaint, right? It was quick. It was a split second. Batman's been doing it for years. There was only 2 of them. There were about 40 different escape routes, and she just had to slip away quickly.
And this wasn't...
It's not a valid complaint.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This wasn't a if this was a non-Force user who did that, I think they would have been able to, but she's also countering with the
she's
Force.
also a Force user. I mean, so again, it's the same thing. Like everybody you can tell people are desperate to find, because remember, I have a long list of complaints for The Acolyte, but you can tell when people are desperate to find something to complain about. Like, Chris, I don't know if you noticed this one, but in the beginning of the show, like she's out fixing something and a fire breaks out.
There's fire in space.
Yes.
I paused and I paced around my home, and Logan was like, suspend your disbelief. And I said, no. I worked at NASA.
Now, I just want to point
very
out,
mad.
depending
Sorry to
on
spike the
what
mic.
is causing the fire, we see fire in space in Star Wars all the time, from thrusters on spaceships and all that kind of stuff. So depending on what it was, but let's say we don't even want to accept that.
Yeah.
I can't watch this. They had fire in space. Yet, if a TIE fighter flies by and does that wicked, awesome, iconic sound, going by, y'all don't blink an eye.
Oh.
There's no sound in space, folks, either.
I got one more.
So, like,
if a TIE fighter flies by and changes its trajectory,
oh yeah, is able to just go. Guess what?
There's no U-turns in space, people.
That can't happen either.
No.
There's no dogfighting in space. They're just going, oh shoot, we're heading that way.
Yeah. I had to recalibrate pretty hard of like, you can't do that. And I was like, wait a second.
So either we accept and suspend our disbelief of there's no atmosphere in space, therefore certain things can happen. like a random flame or sound, or we don't accept it, right? But don't clutch your pearls over how dare they be a little bit of fire in space, because I get it. That made me roll my eyes too. It did. But when we're just like 3 seconds earlier, we're hearing or pew pew or whatever, like, don't clutch your pearls on one if you're just blindly accepting the other. And I happily blindly accept the other. Just, yeah, it's not a big deal. All right, what's next?
All right. I had more problem with her opening that cage with one shock.
Amin
That
in
is
live
also
chat is
fair.
basically saying it's a universe with laser swords, people. Like,
Yeah.
it's true. All right, what's
Sam
next?
Fisher says the creator of the USA show White Collar, starring Matt Balmer and Tim McDecay, is saying that he's rebooting the show. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's about an FBI agent, Decay, who turns to an imprisoned con bomber who he caught to solve cases.
That's one I never did watch. I never watched White Collar.
I'm actively rewatching that right now.
Really?
Yes.
I'm like rewatching.
Yeah.
It. So you've already gone through the series.
I love it. It's a favorite of mine. And it is one of those shows where you have, 20 some odd episodes each season, and you do get some fun character development. It makes me miss that kind of thing.
And
it's
wasn't
really
it out
great.
around the same time that Suits was
Yes.
out?
Yeah,
And I used to
Okay,
kind
I
of
never saw
confuse the
Suits when it
two.
was first out either.
USA was doing all their characters welcome kind of thing at that time, and that's when they had that Suits. They had the show about the royal pains, about a concierge doctor, a whole bunch of stuff like that.
By the way, what was the one, because you mentioned the USA Network. Who was the main girl in Coyote Ugly?
Oh,
Piper Perabo?
I think that's it. Love her. Oh, and she had her
loved
CIA show. What was
Yeah,
that?
wasn't that also on USA?
Yes, it
That's
was.
what made me think about it, right?
That was great.
And again, I never saw that, despite the fact that I love her.
I fell off of that
Oh,
one, but I
she
really
was a
enjoyed
celebrity
it.
crush of mine for about 5 minutes.
That's a good one.
Yeah, she's
so talented.
I really liked her. All right, what's next?
We got Anonymous wrote, I recently watched Bad Boys Ride or Die and I enjoyed it. The camera work was impressive. I might be in the minority here, but I think that John Wick's films have revolutionized action film movies. I don't think so at all. They have. You're not in the minority is what I mean. They have moved from shaky cams to single shot sequences.
I will say this, and it wasn't a Michael Bay movie. This Bad Boys wasn't, but the one thing I will say about the camera stuff, because remember there was that little behind the scenes thing where they showed the camera rigged. I don't know if you saw this,
Yeah.
Chris. There's a behind the scenes video that shows like Will Smith with this strapped into this big camera rig. And the camera, so it's strapped to his body, and the camera's out here facing him, and he's walking around a thing. And then when he comes up on a guy who's going to shoot on the stairs, the camera does this whoosh, and swings around and then points at the guy on the stairs.
Oh, dang.
And it's like,
Okay.
it's really, really cool, right? But, oh, by the way, Walt in the live chat reminded me, Piper was in Yellowstone too. Yes, she was awesome in that. I love her in Yellowstone. Okay, so my problem, though, is the same issue I had with this Michael Bay film, horrible Michael Bay film called Ambulance that came out a couple of years ago. What, John, what's the connection there? Michael Bay discovered drones, right? It's like his nephew gave him his first drone. And it's like, oh my God, this is really cool. Look at the kind of shots I can do. And then like every fucking 5 seconds, it felt like in the movie, it was like, look, everybody, I'm using a drone to take this footage. And I got so tired of it. Bad Boys Ride or Die wasn't as bad as that using that camera technique, but I started to feel them overusing it. Like it's used really wonderfully and effectively in a number of scenes, but then they kind of used it a little bit too much at times. And I'm saying this is somebody who really likes the movie. I had a great time with it, but I felt like they kind of overused that a little bit. All right, what's next?
Cam says, hey, John, I'm aware you didn't like Obi-Wan the series, but did the emotional beat hit for you when Obi-Wan cut half of Darth Vader's mask? McGregor's performance and just everything about that scene had me teary-eyed. Thanks.
I loved the final fight between Obi-Wan and Vader.
Just wish they didn't have the dumb cutaways.
Is Luke gonna be okay?
Yeah, just again, Obi-Wan is a series that overall I did not like, but it definitely had its moments. But the absolute, because I loved the first
Sound like John
episode,
Mulaney.
went south after that. But the final fight between Obi-Wan and Vader, I think for me cracks a top 5 fight scene in all of Star Wars. I loved it. I loved that final fight. The emotional notes. And it was just great, like seeing Obi-Wan like go, look, everybody likes to talk about the Emperor. Everybody likes to talk about Yoda and Luke and Vader. I'm fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi. I am General Kenobi. And he beat ass. And I loved it. Like, I just love seeing Obi-Wan unleash. And he did that in the fight against Vader, which I thought was like absolutely magnificent. Neither jobbed to the other. It was just that a reminder that, guys, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I think we all just think of him as the gentle old man. And to see him absolutely let loose in that, that was like, for me, the highlight of the show. It was absolutely the highlight of the show. All right, what's next?
Jay Newby says, who's in charge of a budget? The producer.
Yes.
I know the studio hands it out, but who's responsible? Who's to blame if they go over? And if they make a movie under the budget, what happens? Does the studio take it back, or is there a bonus? Bonus!
No.
Thanks for the insight.
No, if a production goes under the budget, that just means the money didn't get spent.
Yeah.
That's just so
You get
there's-
rehired
It's not
'cause
like
you're a
there's a
good
pool of
producer.
money that's just then sitting there, ready to go out. Look, long and the short of it is, I'm going to really super overly simplify this. They come up with a script. They get a line producer. A line producer gives you a rough idea how much it's actually going to cost to shoot that. Producers then negotiate terms with the above the line talent and costs and stuff like that. That gets figured into the overall thing. They take that to the funders, whether it's the executive producers, whatever, the studio as a whole, who either approve or decline, turn down whatever the budget request is. It gets approved, declined, whatever. Once it gets green light, they move forward. They got to keep within that. When a budget starts to go over, ultimately the person responsible is the producer, but often it is the fault of the director. But there can be a million other things that get involved in that, other items that can come in and make so like a location that was going to cost us is now going to cost this. You know, there's a million little pieces, but yeah, like Jonathan said, producer. That's an oversimplification, but if you're looking for a basic thing, it's
And if they have Paramount Plus and they want to see a dramatization of that and how it works, The Offer. Watch it.
go watch The
Oh,
Offer. I mean, you should watch The Offer for a million different reasons, but that will give you kind of a neat insight on that too. All right, what's next?
Gus's moviefarts.net says, which show's coming?
Wait, the
Slash
full name,
tip.
gutsesmoviefarts.net/tip.
/tip says, which show is coming to an end like Stranger Things, Cobra Kai, Umbrella Academy. Can't wait to see new episodes. What show will you miss the most?
Well, I definitely ain't gonna be Cobra Kai.
Aw.
Listen, I love that so many people love it. I do. I love that people love that.
Stranger
I wanted
Things,
to
maybe.
love it, but didn't work for me. And that's fine. Stranger Things, this is gonna sound weird. I have liked every new season of Stranger Things more than the last.
Really?
And yet I'm ready for the show to end. I feel like it's ready. I
Yeah, there's
feel
got to
like
be
it's ready.
finality at some point.
Yeah.
So.
So I'm really looking forward to this season, and then I'm okay that it's over, you know? Umbrella Academy, I could just keep watching Umbrella Academy just because I love the characters. I love
Yeah.
the characters so much. I could totally see more of that. But yeah, it's always sad when a show you love comes to an end, especially because with a television show, unlike movies, with a television show, you've become accustomed to for 3, 4, 5 years, week after week, going back and visiting and spending time with those characters, right? And then when that comes to an end, it's kind of bittersweet. But yeah, do you have any of those shows really standing out to you you're really gonna miss?
Yeah, Umbrella Academy, which the internet always remembers. I did a pretty scathing first season review of that show because they had changed some things in the comics, and also I was on a channel that wanted me to be edgier than we were supposed to be. They'd have me change my opinions. It was real cool. I was so nervous when we did Star Wars D&D because I was afraid that Chris is going to find out that I didn't like the show.
Just so you know, in our Star Wars role playing game that we had going, the producer of Umbrella Academy was playing in our game with us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we did a separate game. You weren't, but we did another one. Remember, John, when you were living in Burbank with them?
Oh yeah, but the one she was worried
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
I was very worried, but I've grown to love that show. I love those comics so much. Fun fact: Logan actually was up for a part in that for the last season. He was up for the Sparrow
Oh,
Academy,
nice.
and it went to that kid from Degrassi, and he was just like, Degrassi. But I'm gonna miss that one. I love those Gerard Way stuff is so good, and it's such a good adaptation.
All right, what's next?
Danito says, am I the only one who thinks that adding a stunt category would not only be impractical but dangerous? Incentivizing producers, directors, and stunt workers to push the inherently dangerous work to the limit just to win an award would be irresponsible. I don't think they would do that, though.
Yeah, no, listen, these are professionals. Like they have standards. They'll always be stunt coordinators who their first priority is the safety of their people. And listen, I think stunt workers, by nature of their craft, everybody wants to push the envelope a bit in what they do, and stunt workers are no different. Again, to me, it's the practicality of it. I know the Oscars right now announced that they are looking at how they could do it. I just don't know there's a practical way. Listen, nobody is disagreeing that the stunt community deserves to have an Oscar category. Nobody disputes that. Everybody's in agreement with that. I just don't know that it's practical. I don't know that there's really a tangible, feasible, fair way to do it. And I hope they can come up with a way, because it's an important part of the movies, but I just know there's a way you can do it. Hopefully they'll figure one out. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, if people are this mad about fire in space, just wait till they find out about laser swords.
yeah, that too.
Wait, they're
All
not.
right, what's next?
What?
How do you stop a laser sword from not continuing to go forward?
Oh no.
Amin says, with the two-party, we've already seen BTS video photos of Last of Us Season 2 shooting in Seattle scenes in British Columbia. Without getting into spoilers, I don't think Season 2 will end with that moment. My guess is Season 2 will end partly through Seattle Day 1 and 2. Season 3 will cover the rest of the Seattle story. And with the Season 4, they can do a lot showing everything after Seattle. I was saying this, like filling in the gaps. California, it's hard to discuss without getting into spoilers.
Well, see, I don't think there's going to be anything left of Last of Us 2, the game, after Season 3.
Me either.
They're going to tell the full, complete Last of Us 2 game in Seasons 2 and 3. So when they're talking Season 4, I don't think that's a hint that they're stretching out game 2 into 3 seasons. Yeah. I think they've already got their ideas about where they want the story to go after that. So I still am of the belief that what we talked about the other day, episode 7, because season 2 is only going to be 7 episodes, will end with that.
Yeah.
And then we'll pick up after that. But I don't know that for a fact. We'll see. I know I am dying to find out, though.
And to be fair, and I know it's online gaming, but the developers have developed an online game of Last of Us, and it takes place in another city.
Oh.
So I know that the developers probably have ideas that they're probably working with the showrunners. So it's not like it's like out of left field. They'll have great ideas, I think.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Tristan Thorpe says, never have I related to a Jedi until now with Jedi Master Torben from the Acolyte. Look at that receding hairline. Still better than mine, though. But that beard.
The thing is,
Good beard.
look, I get it. Maybe he's from a different, like an alien thing that looks really human. Yeah, boy, that character looked dumb. He looks
Is it an alien
so
race that has
dumb.
fake beards?
The floating guy.
Yeah.
He looks so stupid. You know what he looked like?
Papa
He
Smurf.
looked like a 12-year-old boy who was trying to convince the movie theater that he was old enough to get into an R-rated movie and slap some fuzz on his face.
He's 3 kids in a trench coat.
Yes, he's
Just
3 kids
trying
in
to
a
get in
trench
there.
coat.
He does look, I mean, and that's probably what they were going for. It's just such a young actor in odd, what I think is prosthetics of the hair and everything. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's him. It just was odd.
It's good
King
to see
Daddy
Iron
go to
Fist
saying,
back.
I am 20. I am 20. All right, what's next?
We got Stefan who says, tip $20.
Thank you, Stefan, for supporting us on that level, man.
Osha on the edge. I didn't do it, Master Soul. I don't care. By the way, the last Canadian. I don't care.
Yeah.
By the way, the last Canadian team that won the Stanley Cup was in 1993.
the
by
Montreal
great
Canadiens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look, that scene clearly took inspiration from The Fugitive. That it's like, I didn't do it. I don't care. By the way, I know I say this all the time. Guys, if you have not yet watched the Harrison Ford film, The Fugitive, what are you doing? Make sure you watch it. It's fabulous. Anyway, first of all, I didn't really understand why she was running. She is stranded now on not necessarily an ice planet, but at least in a continent that it is currently winter. She's stranded there alone, and You've already asserted your innocence. You've already said on the prison ship, I believe in the Jedi. I believe once I get there and I state my case, like you believe in the system. So why, when Jedi come to get you off Ice Planet, is she running away? I didn't get that.
So are we allowed to say spoilers?
Yeah, because it's a
Okay.
TV show.
it's out. So at first it was, okay, is she chasing after that kind of figment of May? Is that's what happening here?
Yeah.
If she's going after her. Or is it kind of that Kylo and Rey thing of they can talk to each other through the Force? And then when it was, oh, May doesn't know she's alive, I was like, wait, what is happening?
That was a vision.
What is this?
She was
Yeah,
chasing
it was
a
just
vision.
more of a
Yeah.
vision the Force showed her, yeah.
Which
And
is
I accept
fine,
that.
but then chase after that vision.
But
Give
it
me
felt
that
more
clear
that
cut
she was
thing.
running away.
Running from debris, going
Yeah.
fight or flight. I'm
don't
going to
know.
get to a cave.
Anyway, again, I know I don't want to sound like I'm just bagging on the show. There were things about the show I really liked, and I think it has potential. It's just, that was a head scratcher to me. All right, what's next?
Raymond says, I read on IMDb that Jordan Peele was offered to direct X-Men but declined. I think he wanted to write and direct like in his films, but Marvel might have a writer already. I haven't read X-Men lately, but are there any great stories from the comics left?
Just to be clear, IMDb did not report that. IMDb picked that up from somebody
And
else. There is
posted it.
no legitimate. Look, I'm not saying definitively that story is false. I'm not saying that definitively. What I am saying is none of the legitimate trades said that. What we do know is that Marvel has met with Jordan Peele. That report did not say. So listen, it is possible that one of them, and I don't know who ultimately reported it, but I know it wasn't Deadline. I know it wasn't Variety. I know it wasn't The Wrap. I know it wasn't The Hollywood Reporter. So I think somebody just kind of is making up that it was. Again, I don't know where it came from, but I wouldn't buy into it at least that much. Again, it's possible it's true. I'm not saying it's not, but unless it comes from an actual legitimate outlet, I wouldn't worry about it too much. All right, what's next?
Not sure if all this came. Oh, I don't think all this came through or something. Hang on. So Keenan Shingler says, "Hey John, I banded this question to you on open mic a few years ago, but thought to send it to the rest of the panel to see what their thoughts and opinions are. See below, because there is good in this world and it's worth fighting for. Lord of the Rings, but it says one of two, so I don't know.
Oh,
Weird because it's
Ken.
tips because I don't even see where that came through. So I'm sorry, man. But if it does come through, we can continue this tomorrow or next week on Monday.
Yeah, we can pick it up next week if
Yeah.
it comes through. So yeah, since we don't really know what the question is.
I love that moment though.
Yeah. It's a great quote.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.
But anyway, okay, so now we can go on to our members here.
All right. What's next?
The Wrestling Hound says, I know that this will never probably happen, but I would really like to see Disney go back to with a huge budget and update all the CGI for the original Star Wars trilogy, mostly A New Hope, because every time I see Jabba, it's like a jump scare, man. Or just not do any of the CGI and keep it the way it was in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the original Star Wars didn't have that Jabba.
Yeah, that was the 90s remake of it.
And actually, in the original movie, the Jabba scene was a big, heavy guy. It was just a human guy. Jabba originally was just a big guy.
I love when they try to make Harrison Ford step over
on
his
his
tail.
Yep. Listen, the special editions was a sign of things to come. Of George Lucas going, oh, look what I can now do with the technology. And just, look, the special editions are still great, but they are, and I'm all for the idea of updating things. I really am. But in the case of the Star Wars special editions, it was more equaled worse. Yeah. More equaled worse. Still like the original. Look, I'll still watch the original trilogy, even in the special editions. They're still great to me. But if you have a chance to watch, and you don't get much of a chance to watch, but if you do get a chance to watch the original Star Wars films as they originally came out, I would highly recommend you do that. All right, what's next?
Okay. Nina Fair says, I'm excited for the new Hunger Games book and movie. Both were announced yesterday to take place during Haymitch's games. Already much speculation on who will play young Haymitch. So they're excited.
I'm glad. I'm not. I'm not. Another prequel. The last one didn't make nearly as much money as the other Hunger films did. And I liked the movie. I liked it. But yeah, I wish I could get a little bit more enthusiasm. If it was something that happened like 5 years after the death of Snow, I could get more on board with that. But this is like, we know where this is all going. So I don't know.
I just wanted to say that HBO just sent me an email.
Oh, what does it say?
It's an exclusive.
Oh,
It's an
really?
official.
Oh,
Only
well,
for
It's
Ray.
an official poster.
Let's bring this up. Let's bring this up. This is coming in.
From
Let's see
House
this.
of the Dragon. If
Whoa,
anyone-
this is a new shot.
Oh my!
Wow, thank you,
gosh.
HBO.
Wow, that's what the green. That's what the green sign does. All no wonder they're gonna lose. Look at them
Oh,
rats. Look at them rats.
interesting.
she's
So I
so
wonder if this is
strong.
episode 1
Look
of
at her
season
just putting
2.
up with that.
Oh my god.
No.
All right. Well, thank you.
Just for everyone who's watching,
Yeah.
we got an exclusive for you. There
Yeah,
you go.
thanks, Max and Mr. Zaslav.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Listen, we don't kink shame on this show. It's fine. It's fine. Do you with consent?
Oh my God.
So Team Black, baby.
All
We
right.
don't know what they're doing over there in Team Green.
Hopefully, washing their feet. All right.
All right.
Oh
What's next?
no! I didn't even think about them being unclean.
Yeah.
No.
Open sewers in that city.
Oh, it tastes like gravel.
Like rat hole.
Gravel.
Oh, I thought I said rat hole.
Tastes like that
gravel.
too. Tastes like
gravel.
that too. Open sewers, baby. Okay.
All right. What's next?
Slarf says, I would highly recommend anyone rewatch House of the Dragon season 1 before season 2. It would be very beneficial with all the names and lore. So I don't disagree with that. And starting from season 3 of Game of Thrones, which means I've watched a lot of Game of Thrones, I rewatched the previous seasons before each next season would come out.
Oh.
like,
I know a
during the
lot of
summer.
people did that. Yeah.
So I rewatched like that damn series probably 6 times.
Damn.
Oh
I
well. So
should.
yeah, it's a good idea.
I should watch it.
I mean, hey, it's just worth rewatching for
Yeah.
the sake of rewatching. It was a
Good
great show. All right. What's next?
All right. Arterial says, happy Friday. My wife is a big Star Wars fan. I'm into Star Trek. I don't mind Star Wars, but we constantly watch them. I want to start showing her some Star Trek. Any advice on where to start her on? Well, you're the Star Trek fan. Please
Can I
and
be,
thank you kindly.
Can I be Rob?
Go ahead.
I know this is going to sound.
He's going to say motion
My
picture.
friend, you need to start with the motion picture.
Yeah,
the
which-
greatest Star Trek
Start
thing
with
of
the
all
Wrath
time.
Rob is very wrong
Wrath of
about.
Khan, baby. Start with Wrath of Khan.
Well,
Still,
Wrath of Khan
it's
is good.
tough because you're talking about trying to get somebody today into something that first came out 50 years ago.
Mhm.
And that's challenging.
Start off with Casablanca.
Because like I don't even, and I know this is going to sound sacrilegious. I don't know that I would recommend starting them off with the original series.
Mm.
Because
Next
that's
Generation?
again, that's a 1960s like sort of thing. I don't know if that's the thing that's going to get them hooked. I would even say like the greatest Star Trek thing ever, Wrath of Khan. I don't even know that you start there. So where would you start?
Next Generation, maybe?
I loved TNG.
Maybe TNG. That's I mean
Well,
that's
that's where I started because my dad was such a huge fan of that. So I watched that when I was growing up.
But then you're going into like, he probably means more movies than
Yeah.
TV shows.
Well, and also I watched TNG in the 90s and it wasn't like a big jump in like this is crazy outdated looking stuff.
Rob would really hate this, but honestly, maybe the J.J. Abrams movies just to edge
Yeah.
her, to
Yeah.
edge her into it.
Yeah.
Because it's closer to Star Wars, and then be like, oh, if you like that, but let me show you like.
You know, that's a very good point.
That's
Like if
true.
you like Star Wars,
You
because
gotta-
I really like the J.J. Abrams
I
ones,
do too.
particularly the first.
And even
first
if you don't,
third.
even from Rob's, even he'd have to kind of agree. I would think that like if you're trying to edge someone from Star Wars to that's a good transition.
That's a good. half
And then if you
step.
like
That's
that,
a good
show
base.
him the
Yep.
rest.
Sure.
You know what? Jonathan just came up with the best answer.
Yeah.
The
Or-
J.J. Abrams one. That's the one to start him off
Or
with.
Galaxy Quest.
Or Galaxy
Galaxy
Quest.
Quest.
Honestly,
Yeah.
That's actually not a bad
that
idea.
movie.
So,
God.
all right, what's next?
All right. Brandon Collins says, "Hey, John and crew, if we get to the end of this year with no films reaching $1 billion at the international box office, is it going to be? I think he means like worldwide.
Yeah.
Is it going to be time to have an uncomfortable conversation about the eventual death of theatrical distribution? Things are not looking good. I don't think so, but
I think they're going to be okay. First of all, you have to also take into consideration what movies are out there, right? Like, because back when we were getting, back in 2019, 18 or 19, one of them where we had like $7 billion films. But look at what those films were, right? We haven't got many of those this year. I believe there will be $2 billion films this year, much like there were 2 last year. But like, there's no Avengers this year. There's no new Star Wars movie this year. Like the ones that usually if it's a higher profile one, like an Avengers film or a Star film, that pretty much you can roadmap $1 billion thing. But out of Despicable Me 4, Moana 2, and Deadpool and Wolverine, I think it's possible all three of those make $1 billion. I think I would put money on two of them making $1 billion. But even if they don't, it's a different kind of year. This has been a year we are still not fully recovered, that we haven't had a complete recover from the 2019 box office year with the pandemic. This year is the one that really paid the price for the labor disruption with the strikes and everything like that. We've been in massive throes of that. So even if by some weird twist of whatever, that none of those films make $1 billion, it's not the issue. A super successful film is not determined by if it makes $1 billion or not. That's just a really cool landmark if it does. I would be more interested once we get into 2025, because that's where a lot of the more high profile, bigger tentpole projects are coming rather than this year. Again, I still think two of them are going to make it, but even if they don't, as long as they're huge and successful and good, I think that just sets us up for 2025. The problem with us as fans, and I include myself in this, is we're often about today marks everything, right? Like an R-rated film made $1 billion. Do you think all films now moving forward should be rated R? If a movie does bad, is this it? Is this whole thing dead, right? We are very recency biased. I would say, like in investing in the stock market, don't look at what happened in the last 6 months. Look at what's happened over the past 5 years. And so I think we are going to get a couple $1 billion films, but even if we don't, you got to look at what the output was. And I think they're going to be perfectly fine, honestly, as long as the movie theaters don't kill themselves. All right, what's next?
King Daddy Goat says, happy Friday, everyone. Piggybacking off of school shows or movies, I have to throw in Vice Principals with Danny McBride and Walter Goggins.
Yes.
I don't
that
think
show's
I have
fun.
laughed that hard in my life. Have you guys seen it?
I don't think I ever watched it.
Yeah.
I never finished
I love those
it.
guys.
I started it but didn't finish it.
Same here, yeah.
Gamby.
Yeah.
Come on,
How did
Gamby.
how did it compare to Westbound and Down?
Oh,
I think Westbound was still better from what
Yeah.
I saw.
I was
love
gonna say
that.
I finished Westbound.
I want to see what is it, the one where they're like a televangelizer.
Righteous
Did I say
Gemstones.
Westbound and Down? I meant
Eastbound
Eastbound
and
and
Down.
Down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Righteous
Righteous
Gemstones.
Gemstones,
I want
yeah.
to see too.
All right, what's next?
Jay Superboy says, "Hey guys, rewatching House of Dragon made me remember that after shows, the after shows. So John, you still dreading having a daughter?"
Oh, dude, I've always dreaded having a daughter. You kidding me? I've always dreaded having a daughter for two very different opposite reasons. I mean, anybody I think would dread being a parent in general with a boy or a girl, but I would particularly I'm terrified of the notion of a daughter. And the main reason I'm terrified is because I saw my dad. Now, I was too young to remember really what happened with my sisters per se, but when my sister, when the first of my sisters had a kid, and it was a little girl, my niece, my dad, who's this gruff, the greatest man I've ever known, but gruff, like at a certain age, we have this version of gruff, like stoic, like kind of a bear of a guy, right? And blah, blah. Something happened when my sister had a daughter, because I don't know what her secret was, but that little girl had my dad completely wrapped around her finger. Like the world and the universe revolved around her. And I fear I'm going to be the same way if I have a daughter. I'm going to have I have this feeling that little girl will completely have me absolutely under her thumb and absolutely under her control. I fear that. I don't worry about that with a boy. I think I'm going to be able to be a dad to my boy, and I'm going to be, no, son, you got to do this. But I think I have this feeling that I might have the thing with my dad and be like, whatever my little girl wants. I just fear I'm going to be that. I hope I'm not, but I think I might be. All right. What's next?
Kayak says, I haven't watched The Offer, and I'm wondering what's the better order. Rewatch The Godfather first, then watch the show, or the other way around. I'd say because you've already seen, because you said rewatch The Godfather.
Yeah, just watch The Offer.
Yep, and then watch The Godfather.
Yeah, because The Offer is literally a completely different story. it's about like, even if you've never seen The Godfather, I think you can watch The Offer and completely appreciate it. So yeah, I think you're fine. As long as you've already seen Godfather, I think you're fine to just jump right into The Offer. I think you'll love it. All right, what's next?
Yeah, there was some very familiar family members to me in The Offer. Can explain that after the show. Sir Malmston says, the real soldier who inspired Saving Private Ryan actually said Matt Damon's line. Do you have any war movies that you regularly watch? Man, I haven't done it in a while, but the HBO series, Band of Brothers.
Oh,
Wow, love it.
Man, what is there a war movie I regularly watch?
I know 1917 just came out to one of the streaming services.
Yeah, so I can't say it's one I regularly watch because I don't regularly watch Saving Private Ryan. I don't regularly watch Platoon. I don't regularly
They're heavy.
watch.
They're heavy watches.
Tough watches.
Yeah, so there's I don't know that I'd count Rambo movies as war movies.
I mean, and because it was a different era, it wasn't as heavy, but I used to watch Patton a lot just because I loved the actors.
yeah.
and
I mean, in the
Patton.
live chat is mentioning Hacksaw Ridge, which is a brilliant movie. I love Hacksaw Ridge, but I don't watch it regularly. You know, so I can't really think of one.
And then you have the Fury,
Oh,
Fury
yeah.
with Shia LaBeouf. I know
LaBeouf,
mine.
and the
Yeah,
tank.
with War
Brad
Daddy,
Pitt.
or what was Brad Pitt's character's name?
That was
War
something like
Daddy
that.
or Papa Daddy or War Papa or
remember.
I don't know.
Well, so something that had to do with soldiers. It wasn't really war. It was Cadence with Martin Sheen.
Oh yeah,
That was like
but again,
my favorite
not
movie.
one that I watch over and over again.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
We got Joe Howland. Hi, John and crew. Been watching you since Man of Steel days. Get that a lot. My question is, how much do you think the new Alien Romulus movie will make in its total run in theaters? And do you think we'll get any more trailers for the new Crow movie? Thanks, Bring on the Filthy.
How much Alien Romulus will make in its total theatrical run will really depend about how good or not it is, right? I can have a guess for an opening weekend, but like if a movie's really good, it's going to make more money than if a movie's really bad. So it's really difficult to say. My guess, 275. But again, I'm going to totally reserve the right to completely revamp that once I see it. Because if I think it's great, then I'm going to think word of mouth is going to help. There's going to be repeat viewing or not. So my guess before seeing it, pure speculative guess, is 275 million the movie makes.
And it better not have a 30-day release window.
Yes, or else it's really going to kill it. All right, we'll take time for two more questions. What's next?
Okay. Aaron says, hey guys, happy Friday. A crazy thought came to me. Since Anakin created C-3PO, does that mean Luke and him are brothers?
I guess in some weird twisted way, it kind of makes them stepbrothers.
Yeah, a little bit.
I never thought of that before, but yeah, that's true. By the way, one of the stupidest things ever done in movies. All right, let's say Anakin built C-3PO. What a stupid thing that was. This universe is so tiny that why don't we just say that Anakin made him? Yeah, that makes no sense, George. Just go with it. Okay, George. It's just one of the dumbest things ever. Oh my God. Anyway. Okay. Last question of the day. What's next?
Let's see. We got Adnanbin. Hi, John. Do you think we will ever see Blade actually in the MCU? It's been about 4 years since they announced it, and there have been 700 rewrites. So what do you think? Is it actually going to happen?
Okay.
I turn to Ray.
All Ray's so sad. This is pure, not based on anything, complete conjecture and speculation as a fan. Here's what I'm guessing is going to happen. Pure guess. I think the movie happens without Mahershala Ali. I think at this point, Mahershala Ali is almost going to be fed up. And at some point, he's got to move on. And
by the way, that's just Ray doing that, because that kind of sounds like something.
That sounds very.
That sounds like Ray's getting excited.
That's all I'm hearing from your mouth right now. Just farts.
Just farts. I think it happens later. But again, listen, there's also a very good chance that they're on pace right now to just get it completed and get into production. They say they're going into production this year. They say, but I don't know.
Just give me a short. Like,
Yeah, just make a
give me
YouTube
the
short
short
at
with
this point.
the opening rave scene from Blade 1 with Mahershala. Just put that on YouTube. Then we'll never talk about it again. That's it.
Yeah, and then we'll see. And on that happy note, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because it gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. We will be doing at least one, maybe even two open mics this weekend. So keep your guys' eyes open for when I announce the starting times of those. And until then, I want to thank Ray Ora.
Have a horrible weekend.
Ray just now wants to spread his misery around.
Oh, no.
Jonathan Voico,
Have a good weekend.
Chris Carr,
She's got Campbell. Congrats on Natalie graduating.
and my name's John Campea. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.